And last but not least.
And the James Curry, come on down.
Good luck, sir. Good luck, sir.
No music.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. First of all, I want to thank you all for staying. I know it's been a long night. My name is H. James Curry, and I'm a candidate for Circuit Court Judge here in Broward County. Let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I've been practicing attorney for 22 years. I'm a senior attorney with the Florida Department of Juvenile Justice. Unlike many of the other candidates, my entire career I focus on juvenile law. My wife of 25 years is in the audience. Thank you. I'm a resident of Broward County. 60 seconds, wow, that goes fast. One of the things, and I like that question about mental health and substance abuse. Those are some of the critical issues we need to address in our community today. Again, my name is H. James Curry, Group 46. I'm the first one on the ballot. Vote for Curry, and you'll have no worries. Thank you.
And next young lady, come on down, is Maria Markson Weeks.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Maria Markson Weeks, and I am also a candidate in Circuit Group 46. In addition to being a lawyer, I think it's really important to be involved in your community, and it's something that I do a lot, and I try to get my kids involved in. I volunteer with the PACE Center for Girls, which is an at-risk program for juvenile girls that keeps them out of the juvenile justice system. I do food service at Broward Partnership for the Homeless, right up on Sunrise, and I also do pro bono work for legal aid, primarily with veterans who estate planning and wills and trusts who otherwise couldn't afford an attorney. As a lawyer, I have spent my entire career as a trial lawyer. I have been a civil trial lawyer, so I've done contracts and construction litigation, and then I worked here in Broward County as a prosecutor, and I worked in the firearms and gun violence unit. So I prosecuted all of our shooting and gang and gun violence cases all over Broward County. I have more trial and litigation experience than both of my opponents combined. And most of the candidates are going to get up and tell you how wonderful they are, because that's what we're going to do, realistically. But during this process, we have been interviewed by a lot of different organizations for endorsements. And I am very proud that I have been endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, by the Police Benevolent Association, by the firefighters, AFL-CIO, by Hispanic Vote. I've been endorsed by the National Organization of Women, by the Save Action PAC, and I've also been endorsed by the Sun Sentinel and our mayor here, Dean Trantillis. Thank you very much.
Okay, bring down Mr. Dale Miller. Come on down.
Come on, folks, give it up on last. Good evening. My name is Dale Miller. I'm running for Circuit Court Judge, Group 46. I am a native of South Florida. I was born in Miami, grew up down there. I have lived here in Broward for the past 21 years. I'm raising my two children. Both of them attend public schools in Hollywood. I'm a volunteer in my community. I'm a member of the Lions Club, the Rotary Club, Knights of Columbus, and the American Legion. I served 12 years in the United States Navy, 4 years on active duty during the Cold War, and 8 years in the reserves during the Iraq War. For the past 12 years, I have worked in the law offices of the public defender. I did 1 year in private practice, 3 internships with the state attorney. So if you want to know what kind of person I am, what kind of character I have, what kind of judge I will be, just ask that guy. He's been my boss for the past 12 years, and it's the best job I've ever had. And that's it. Thank you very much. Okay, very good.
All right, this is the last group, and we're pretty tired, and I'm going to try to ask questions, and that's going to kind of give you an opportunity to let us know who you are. James, you've been, prosecuting most of your career with the Department of Juvenile Justice, correct? My question to you is, What do you think about Florida's juvenile civil citation program, and explain it to people, and Broward's Promise program?
Well, first of all, I think they're both needed, but they have to be administered correctly. The civil citation program is an early intervention program. What we know from the literature is that kids who are first-time offenders and who will likely not reoffend are better suited not to go into the juvenile justice system because that increases the recidivism rate. So, in terms of our objective of reducing juvenile delinquency, it is a smart and good economic choice for our state. As to the Promise program, which is an early intervention program as well, we talk about the prison to school pipeline. I don't know when you went to school, but when I went to school, we didn't have school resources officers. We weren't arrested when we had fights. Disputes weren't resolved in the school by someone having to wind up being in the detention center. That wasn't part. We had gangs. I grew up in New York, but that wasn't part of it. It's something philosophically wrong or counterintuitive with a kid going to school and coming home arrested. And so we've got to fix, the purpose of school is to educate and not in the criminal justice system. That's not the kind of education we want for our kids.
Maria, I'm gonna kind of turn your attention a little bit to something a little bit different. The war on drugs. It's clearly impacted neighborhoods where people who are poor and of color. It has been disproportionate in how it's been enforced. It's been disproportionate in who gets arrested. It's been disproportionate in who goes to prison. You were an assistant state attorney at the time for a number of years. Can you tell us what, if anything, you were able to do within your office to address the impact of police targeting poor and minority communities?
In terms of what I was able to do in my office, I can only speak to the way that I handled my own personal cases. Unfortunately, I wasn't the state attorney. So although we can give our opinions on how we believe things are being addressed, ultimately he's the one that makes the decision. I know the way that I handled my cases that I dealt with was that I would look at the people's situation. I would look at how they were arrested. I would look at their history, and if their history involved the fact that they had been arrested several times for drug offenses, and in that particular case, I would then reach out to their attorney, whether it be their public defender or their defense attorney, and then I would discuss with them some kind of options in order to get this person into some kind of treatment in order to stop the rate of recidivism, because I don't believe that incarcerating somebody without providing them treatment is going to make them change their behavior.
Thank you. Dale, you've been a public defender for many years. And we've talked a lot tonight about people of color and unfairness in the system. But the question I think that some people want to know from you, as a public defender and a defense lawyer for most of your career, how should the victims out there feel comfortable if you are the judge?
Howard, when I was in the Navy, I thought and I acted like a sailor. And when I worked in the prosecutor's office during my 3 internships, I thought and acted as a prosecutor. And for the past 12 years, I have thought and acted as a defense attorney. When I am elected as your circuit court judge, I will act and think as a judge. Having worked on both sides of the aisle, I am best equipped to address all of the concerns from both the victim standpoint and from the defendant standpoint. One of the problems or one of the shortcomings of being a prosecutor in this county is they rarely get to hear both sides of the story. And anyone who has walked the streets for more than a few years knows there's always two sides to the story. And so I come equipped, ready to listen to all sides, and all sides will be heard before any decision is made, before any ruling is rendered. Thank you.
I'm gonna ask you all the same question. It's come up tonight several different times. It's not a question about how you would rule on any issue or anything like that. Parkland has sent this community into shockwaves. School is starting back this week. Many people here have kids in the public schools. You guys have been part of the system like I have. What they want to know from you is, are their kids safe? That's the question.
Not to dodge the question, but the first question that comes to mind when you ask that question is, how do you define safe? Are you saying that, can we guarantee that nothing will happen? Can we guarantee that another Parkland is not around the corner? I think not. I hate to say that, but the honest answer to that question is, first of all, I haven't reviewed the schools. I don't know the particulars of the plan that they put in motion. But when you have the death of innocence, like we had in Parkland, and then your solution is more police protection, I'm just not sure if that's the answer. We need a multidisciplinary approach to this. We need to focus on mental health. We need to have a mental health intervention earlier than obviously took place in the Parkland situation. We need a multi-pronged approach to this. And the reality is, this type of situation will occur once out of 100. But can anyone say that it's not possible that it can't happen again? I don't think they can honestly say that. We hope, we do all we can, but you can't say 100% for certain that it won't happen again. We can only do the best to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Maria?
I think that's a great question, and I have the same concerns. I have 7-year-old twins that are starting second grade tomorrow. And like every other parent, I have the same exact concerns. And so again, I don't think we can say 100% that it will never happen again. I think one of the biggest problems that we have is unfortunately the failure of our juvenile justice system and the Department of DJJ and the intervention programs that they have. And I'm sure many of you who, if you're here and you're civically engaged, you've kept up with the news and with all of the stories that they've done about the Department of Juvenile Justice. And that's the place where they're supposed to be catching problems with our children early on. That's where you catch the drug abuse, the mental health problems, any kind of abuse, and that's where they're supposed to be getting the treatment that they need so that they don't go into the criminal justice system and their behavior doesn't escalate. But with lines that we have for children to get into programs, with the way that the programs are being run, with the abuses that are going on in the programs, rather than having these children get these services that they need, they come out worse than they are. So when that happens, can we guarantee that something won't happen again? No. So I think the biggest issue we need to do is we need to shine a really bright light on the Department of Juvenile Justice and hold them accountable to do what they say they're going to do, which is rehabilitate our children.
Yeah.
So I am comfortable sending my daughters to Hollywood Hills High School on Wednesday. I know that the school board that's in place today has done more to make my children safer than they were before Valentine's Day. I know that they're hiring veterans to act as school resource officers. I know that they are seeking to find or to deputize some of the school resource officers. Everyone as a community is going to be more vigilant. Everyone's going to be looking out for my kids, just like I'm going to be looking out for your kids. And I believe that the voters now who are going to be selecting the next group of school board members to take us to the next step are going to educate themselves more than ever before and that we can rely on our voice to select the right people to do the right thing as we go forward.
And those are your impressive candidates for that race.